as someone who has played hundreds of hours of Starfield, you might say I like this game, and I do, but I still have my fair share of criticism, and it's not going to be addressed with a new update. One of the things that is lacking are NPC routines. Now there are some routines in the game. For example, these women, they go to the bar in the evening and in the day they go to their job, which is in this office, and if we wait a few hours we can actually see them working. But then there's also the boss that just hangs around there all day. Now I use a mod that gives NPCs a routine, and the mod has a lovely name. More NPCs have routines and stores have schedules. If we go, for example, to the trade authority, then we can see there's now a slate that tells us the opening hours, and outside the opening hours there's now a robot that will serve us. And if we go outside, we can actually meet the NPC from trade authority going to work. Now I personally would say NPCs routines are pretty essential to a Bethesda game, so I don't know why they wouldn't add that with a new update. Maybe they will. We don't know that yet for sure, but they haven't talked about it, so I doubt it. And if we go to Paradiso, we can see it also affects other NPCs. So let's just quickly fly there. Now normally when you arrive at Paradiso, there's an NPC that talks to the robot, and he will just basically stand there forever. But with this mod, he actually goes to the hotel. Now you can finally feel fully immersed again. Speaking of breaking your immersion, there's some minor quirks I have with the backgrounds you can choose. For example, if you choose a Freestar Collective background, your family still lives in New Atlantis for some reason. Why? In general, I would say the backgrounds feel underused. They give you maybe a new dialogue option here and there, but they rarely have a real effect on quests. Especially when you choose your religion, which is barely used in the game. And if we look at quests, they barely have outcomes that affect the world. Now there are some exceptions. For example, the Crimson Fleet or the ECS quest, where you can make the people of the ECS slaves to Paradiso, or totally annihilate the Crimson Fleet. But it doesn't matter if you kill Ron Hope or if he lives. You can't even arrest him. And that they could do that, they show in the Crimson Fleet quest. And with a bounty hunter system, you could actually arrest people now. Sometimes it feels like they had different teams working on different quests and they never talk to each other. Most quests have maybe 2 outcomes that you can choose from, and you don't really see an impact in the world, despite having a system that would actually allow them to have different outcomes with Unity. And with Unity there's only some special universes where the only difference is that you can do the main quests. This doesn't make any sense. Why not have a universe where everything is destroyed after the war? Or where one faction has actually won the war? But there's just so much potential that they haven't used. They rather focused on quantity than quality. And unfortunately, this is one thing that they probably never will change. The best we can hope for is some minor changes. Maybe you could actually see the Asilis if you chose them at the end of the Vanguard quest. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen them roaming around on planets. Or maybe they could give Sona a room. All of the other members of Constellation have one. Or let the player actually arrest Ron Hope. There is a mod that allows you to do that. Of course there is. And if you, the player, get arrested for pickpocketing, they don't send you to prison, they send you in front of the prison. You barely get punished for your actions. At least if you get caught stealing, the owner can take back the property you just stole. It just feels inconsistent. You could just murder everyone in New Atlantis, pay off your bounty, and everything goes back to normal. And if we get into the topic of combat, especially melee combat is lacking. There aren't any finishers that I know of. The only finisher that I know is the one where you shoot the backpack and the guy gets just shoot into the air like a rocket. And if you want to pulverize someone or shoot his head off, you're gonna need a mod for that. It's not impossible that they add something to that, but I wouldn't bet on it. But they are making some additions to outposts, but but these additions will not change that they are pretty much disconnected from the rest of the game. Yes, there are some supply missions that you can do with outposts, but anything other than that, there's really no point in building them other than to have a nice retreat. Maybe they add a creation, similar to Sim settlements. Maybe List will send you on a mission to find a suitable planet for people to live there, and if you supply them with resources, it will grow into a little town. Starfield gives a player a huge playground. But if you never feel the consequences of your actions, then it just feels shallow. Unfortunately, Starfield never uses its full potential, and probably never will.
Although you